Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Archon. So in this video I'd like to go over the top 10 damage companions for single target. So these companions should be the best out there for dealing single target damage when you're in, let's say, a boss fight. Now with a damage companion you want to be using your warlord inspiration insignia bonuses to buff it up, along with indomitable runestones. Currently all 6 at rank 15 do stack up to maximize your companion's damage output. A quick disclaimer before we go into things. I do not have all of the companions that are in the game. There's just over 200 of them. 25 of them, however, are augment companions, so we don't need to worry about them whatsoever. I have left out a whole load of the healer companions and those support companions that help you defend and such, and then there are a select few which I haven't managed to obtain myself. So there may be 1 or 2 that I have missed that might slot into this top 10 list, but it is unlikely as we haven't really heard of them dealing much damage. Also, as just some random content creator, there's no way I can promise you that any of these companions won't be changed in any way to either do more damage or less damage. So it's basically your own gamble whether you want to spend astral diamonds or any currency to purchase these, just because I've went and tested that they're doing pretty well now. Now, a lot of credit I want to give to Pistaaa, my friend, who helped me compile this list of companions, and linked in the video description below you should see a link to a Excel document which has over 100 companions there listed with their damage output. And now their damage output is based on my stats, how many stats I have, and also Pistaaa, my friend, and we've managed to try and get our stats very similar, so the damage output on these companions should also be very similar. And yes, indeed they are when we went to test similar companions. Now, companions, you want to make sure that they're in combat advantage to maximize their damage output, as yes, companions now do actually benefit from dealing combat advantage damage. As we can see when we go and strike the target, then when our companion actually attacks, you should see sword markers like that there against their hits. If they crit, then a crit marker goes there. But you get my point. So in 10th place, yes, we have the Jagged Dancing Blade. And from what I tested on my current build with these statistics right here, the Jagged Dancing Blade was dealing just over 22,500 encounter DPS, putting it in 10th place of my compilation of over 100 companions. And now each of these companions I went and tested for just over 10 minutes to make sure to get an average test, because there is that RNG of whether they crit or they deflect, and that can overall result in your damage output of your companion. So moving on, we go to 9th place, and in 9th place we have the Owl. The Owl jumps up a good amount of DPS there, getting to 25,200. The Owl is actually rather hard to test. I had to use another player to help me test it because of its wing power there. When it goes and it dashes around the target, striking from different angles, it loses combat advantage sometimes, and therefore it doesn't gain the full damage output. But when it does, it's there in 9th place, 25,224 the damage per second we got. So we move on. Moving to 8th place, we have the Tomb Spider. And this spider, what's good about it is it hits very frequently, and with combat advantage damage, it does a significant amount of damage over time. And we got up to 26,680 encounter DPS. And this was again over a test of over 11 minutes there. So moving on to 7th place, we have the Pseudodragon. The Pseudodragon, nice little cute pet. I like to pronounce it with the P, but people will correct me with it being said without the P. Pseudodragon. But anyway, the Pseudodragon has 27,500 encounter DPS, putting it on 7th place on the list. And it has pretty neat attacks there. Again, all of these companions are focused on single target. They are focusing on maximizing your damage output when you're against a boss, especially when you're in trials like Tower of the Mad Mage or Zariel, and these would be the ideal companions you use to maximize your damage output. So this is a Pseudodragon in 7th place. In 6th place we go to Xuna herself. She is a good bit better in an AoE environment, but in single target she can still do pretty well with that big bloodbath of hers. And what makes her one of the best in an AoE environment is, yes, indeed, the bloodbath, and the fact that she does it straight away. There's no dilly-dallying. As soon as she's found her target, she goes and she does her bloodbath straight off the bat, meaning you maximize that damage at the beginning of a fight. A lot of other companions don't have that benefit. But anyway, with testing her, we got her damage output to be just over 28,800 encounter DPS. So we move to 5th place. In 5th place we have the Air Archon. Now the Air Archon is very similar to the next companion I'm going to say, and technically they probably actually deal exactly the same amount of encounter DPS. Just with my test it probably was due to one not critting and one, let's say, having more deflex from the dummy. So we go and strike and we have the Air Archon, and this attack which he does, that spinning one, is his big hit. And he has also his stab, which is quite small, but when he has combat advantage you can see the damage goes up there by a significant amount. But it's that spinning attack that's key, and it makes him deal a whole lot of damage. Here we go, and it's dealing those big nice hits there. A lot of those were deflex and non-crits, but when we do get a flurry of crits, you'll see he's doing there nearly 150,000 on each of those hits. So we got the Air Archon to deal just over 29,400 encounter DPS. This is the attack I mean, with all those big crits and those big damage values. That's what gives him this encounter DPS. Now he is very, very similar, and I believe they have the same base formula and the base mechanics behind them as the Black Ice Prospector. I got only a tiny bit more DPS out of this guy, but I believe it was probably only due to crits. So you can effectively see the Air Archon and the Black Ice Prospector as same companion pretty much. They have the same attack power and that same spinning ability, as you will see this guy do in a second. And I put the Black Ice Prospector in 4th place. Here's his big spin ability. It's literally the same as the Air Archon, so he should do the exact same then in AoE environment. And since they're in rank 4th and 5th place of being the best damage companions for single target, they're going to do pretty good in AoE. Anyway, this is about single target, so we'll move on. We'll move on to 3rd place. In 3rd place we have the Mercenary. This little guy here, and again he's very similar to another companion which I've put in 2nd place. But when we go and attack, he has his Death Strike where he'll go and attack from behind the target. Now ideally what you do when you want to test him out is you'll go and attack the back of the target so that he will stay there when he does his Death Strike. So he attacks from there, and then you can give him combat advantage here the whole time. Now he has this, I believe it's like his Duelist Flurry from like the Rogue, and then he has that same Death Strike where he teleports behind the target and does a significant amount of damage, and that hit can get over like 200k. And so his encounter DPS is 30,600. So that's pretty good and better than what we've been getting with the Air Archon and the Black Ice Prospector. Again, all of these tested over 10 minutes. So now we go to 2nd place, and he's literally a copy and paste of the Mercenary. Now, I did get slightly more damage output on this guy, and again, I think it's due to those crits and those deflects. So we go and attack, and you can see he has the same Death Strike and he has the same Duelist Flurry. They're literally the same companion, they just look a tiny bit different. Even that, they don't really look different. And so yeah, they basically have the same encounter DPS at over 30,600 encounter DPS. But again, this is with my build and my setup. With your build, if you have more offense stats, you'll do more damage. You can always slot in a 3rd Warlord's Inspiration as well. So finally we go to the top tier companion. Which companion is dealing the most single target DPS? Well, if you saw this list, the last one I have to mention is the Cold Iron Warrior. And yes, from all the companions I have tested, this guy seems to be doing the most damage. even with his nerf just recently. And he still deals over 33,000 encounter DPS. And it's mainly again due to his big encounter power, this spin attack, which we should see him do anytime now. Here we go. This big spin attack, which is very similar again to the Air Archon and the Black Ice Prospector. And those are both AoE again. And we can see when we inspect the companion, their powers, they have this spinning steel, this Cold Iron Warrior does, which can cut up to 5 multiple enemies. And if we look at the Air Archon, again, he has the same thing. He has his flail strike where he can spin and hit up to 5 enemies with multiple attacks. And it's the same with the Black Ice Prospector here. We have the spinning pick where he can spin around and hit up to 5 enemies with multiple attacks. So I'm pretty sure they're all copy and pasted, but this Cold Iron Warrior has a little bit better kind of at-will strike from the Barbarian there. As you can see, that 3-fold attack, 4-fold attack I believe. It's just a bit better and deals a bit more damage over time. So he totals up at over 33,400 encounter DPS, putting him in first place on my tier list of the most damaging single target companions we currently have available to us. There of course are a few companions that I have not gone and tested. You can look in the document yourself. And if there are ones there that I have missed you'd like me to test out because you've been finding they do significant amounts of damage on your build, please let me know in the comments below and I'll do my best to go and test them on this specific build and we can make a comparison. And I can add it to the Excel document. So that is going to conclude this video. Hopefully it was somewhat insightful. If you have any of these top tier companions, well, good luck to you, and they are definitely going to be one of the best to be using to give you that more damage when you're against a boss fight in a single target scenario. Hopefully I presented this well, and if I did, consider leaving the video a like, and if you're new around here, consider subscribing. And this seriously took a lot of work from me and my friend Pistaaa. Hopefully it's at least helpful, and we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.